Hello, my name is Kurt Tan, and for my disease presentation, I will be talking about polio, scientifically known as poliomyelitis. According to the CDC, polio is a disabling and potentially life-threatening disease, a virus that spreads from person to person and can infect a person's spinal cord, causing paralysis. As seen by the CDC, polio is caused by the poliovirus whose only known reservoir is in humans, where entry into the body is only through the mouth. As mode of transmission, also according to the CDC, contraction of polio is either via fecal matter of another infected person through contaminated food or contaminated drinking water. Less common, polio can also be contracted through droplet transmission from a sneeze or cough of an infected person. To go back to the history of the disease, as seen by the Pearson textbook, the first appearance of polio in the United States was in an outbreak in Vermont in the summer of 1894. For decades, the country feared summertime epidemics, where these yearly outbreaks would increasingly affect many adolescents and young adults. And with this increasing number of incidents within adolescents and young adults came an increase in the number of paralytic cases. Many of those who fell victim to polio died from their respiratory muscles being paralyzed, and left thousands of young children and infants being left permanently crippled. Due to this, it resulted in the development of the iron lung in the 20th century, a device that kept many alive with paralyzed respiratory systems. According to the National Institute of Health, polio was the most dramatic in the 1950s, where a large number of hospitals were filled with patients on the iron lungs. In its peak incidence in the United States in 1953, there were 20,000 recorded cases of paralytic poliomyelitis. According to the CDC, currently with the help of vaccination, wild poliovirus has been eliminated in the United States. However, according to the Pearson textbook, while worldwide vaccines have continued to stop the spread of wild poliovirus in all, it has there's in all but two countries have stopped the spread, that being Afghanistan and Pakistan. It must also be understood that other countries have experienced outbreaks of poliovirus where it may emerge in areas where immunizations rates are low. Symptoms and signs of the disease, according to the Pearson textbook, can be seen as majority of cases are asymptomatic or exhibit only mild symptoms such as headache, sore throat, fever, and nausea. If polio eventually penetrates through the capillary walls and enters the CNS, the virus will show a high accord for the motor nerve cells in the upper spinal cord. As the virus multiplies within the cytoplasm of the motor nerve cells, the cells die, resulting in paralysis. Death can come from the paralysis of the respiratory system, resulting in respiratory failure. However, this only affects fewer than 1% of people infected with the poliovirus. According to the Pearson textbook, polio is typically diagnosed by isolating the virus from feces or secretions of the throat. As seen in the CDC, occasionally specimens from the cerebrospinal fluid may also prove useful in detecting the virus. These cell cultures can be inoculated and the cytopathic effects on the cells can be observed or by detecting the virus by polymerase chain reaction, also known as PCR tests. There are several diseases that can cause paralysis, therefore resulting in many people mistaking the disease as polio. One of these diseases include Guillain-Barré syndrome. According to the CDC, Guillain-Barré is a rare disorder in which the body's immune system damages nerves, where damage to the nerves cause muscle weakness and sometimes paralysis, similar to polio. According to the National Institutes of Health, to be able to tell the difference between the two can be by clinical cerebrospinal fluid and MRI characteristics that distinguish between the two. According to the Pearson textbook, currently there is no cure for polio. Polio can only be prevented. There are two different vaccine types available. There is the Salk vaccine, named after its developer, Jonas Salk. It is an inactivated vaccine consisting of viruses of all three types. Vaccines of this type, referred to as inactivated polio vaccines, IPV, require a series of injections. There is also the Sabin vaccine, named after its developer, Albert Sabin. The Sabin vaccine is an attenuated vaccine containing three weakened types of poliovirus, trivalent T OPV. Vaccines of this type are commonly referred to as oral polio vaccine, OPV. It is less expensive to manufacture compared to the Salk vaccine, and it is simpler to administer as it does not require any trained personnel or equipment. This vaccine includes potential lifelong immunity of polio. According to the CDC, due to polio being only preventable and not curable, the CDC recommends that children receive 4 doses of polio vaccine, with 1 dose being received at 2 months, 4 months, 6 through 18 months, and 4 through 16 years of age. As long as you have the milder symptoms of polio, according to kidshealth.org, full recovery can occur within 1 to 2 weeks. However, after recovery, some may develop post-polio syndrome, which is the loss of muscle function and loss of muscle strength and dysfunction up to 30 to 40 years after the first time they get sick. According to the Pearson textbook, serious side effects that may occur from vaccination may occur due to the Sabin vaccine. While the Sabin vaccine may result in lifelong immunity, due to the virus being attenuated and still alive, strains of the disease can occasionally revert back to virulence and cause the disease. The incidence of this is rare, with there usually being 1 case out of 750,000 recipients. Going for new discoveries for polio, according to the National Institutes of Health, there is an international research team led by doctors Raul Andino of the University of California, San Francisco, and Andrew McAdam of the UK's National Institute for Biological Standards and Control, which are in the process of creating new vaccines for polio. Studies in mice have shown that both novel vaccines showed strong immune responses, preventing infection post-exposure to the poliovirus. Further studies have shown that the new vaccines are genetically more stable and unlikely to evolve. For future research and direction areas, according to the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, led by groups such as the World Health Organization, CDC, and UNICEF, they plan to transform its approach in each region and country through the Polio Eradication Strategy 2022 to 2026 in order to eradicate polio through the objectives to achieve 2 elemental goals, that being to halt all poliovirus transmission in the final wild poliovirus endemic of Afghanistan and Pakistan, as well as to interrupt the circulation of vaccine-derived poliovirus transmission to prevent outbreaks in non-endemic countries. Here are my references. Thank you.